May 1991, the entire basketball world witnessed something unforgettable. Michael Jordan, the man chasing greatness, finally faced down the two biggest thorns in his career, Isiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer. For years, these two leaders of the Detroit Pistons had tormented him, knocked him down, and crushed his dreams. But this time, Jordan wasn't coming in as the flashy young scorer who could drop 50 points and still lose. He came in as a transformed player, a leader, and a man who was ready to destroy his rivals once and for all. For nearly half a decade, the Detroit Pistons were the toughest team in basketball. They weren't just champions, they were bullies who reveled in being called the bad boys. Their defense was so brutal, so unapologetic, that it didn't just stop opponents, it broke them mentally and physically. At the heart of it all was Isiah Thomas, the brilliant floor general with ice in his veins, and Bill Laimbeer, the enforcer who made sure every opponent felt pain when they dared to drive to the basket. Together, they were Jordan's nightmare. No matter how great he played, they always found a way to shut the door in his face. From 1988 to 1990, the Pistons eliminated Jordan and the Bulls 3 straight years in the playoffs. Each time it seemed like Chicago was finally ready to rise, Isiah and Laimbeer sent them crashing back down. And they didn't just beat Jordan, they humiliated him. They created an entire defensive system called the Jordan Rules, a strategy designed to swarm him, hit him, and wear him down until he had nothing left in the tank. It worked so well that it nearly broke him. 3 years in a row, the dream ended the same way, with Detroit celebrating and Jordan walking off the court in frustration. But Jordan wasn't wired like any other player. Instead of running from the challenge, he turned his pain into fuel. He hit the weight room harder than ever, putting on muscle to withstand the punishment of Detroit's defense. He became a smarter passer, a more unselfish leader, and a defender who could shut down anyone in his path. By 1991, he wasn't just an unstoppable scorer. He was the complete package. The stage was set for a rematch in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Jordan knew this was the moment that would define his career. The Bulls had already beaten the Knicks and Sixers to reach this point, but the Pistons were the ultimate test. They had just eliminated the Celtics and Hawks, and they wanted a 3rd straight trip to the finals. Game 1 went to Chicago, but that had happened before, in 1989, and the Pistons came back to win the series. So when Game 2 tipped off in front of a packed Chicago stadium, Jordan knew that everything was on the line. This wasn't just another playoff game. This was his chance to finally crush the demons that haunted him. From the opening minutes, Jordan made it clear that this was a different version of number 23. He wasn't forcing shots or trying to do it all himself. Instead, he set the tone by finding his teammates. He dished an early assist to John Paxson for a 3, then hit Horace Grant for a layup, and later found Paxson again for a mid-range jumper. Jordan was showing that he could trust his teammates and that Chicago's offense was no longer a one-man show. But make no mistake, Jordan wasn't going to stay quiet for long. Facing Isiah Thomas, who was giving up size and length, Jordan rose up over him for smooth jumpers from the perimeter. His high release made it nearly impossible to contest, and once he saw a couple go in, he started to lock in. On defense, he was just as aggressive, drawing charges, poking the ball loose, and turning defense into fast break points. By halftime, the Bulls had built an 8-point lead, and Jordan hadn't even unleashed his full scoring arsenal yet. That would change in the second half. Coming out of the locker room, Jordan attacked Joe Dumars possession after possession. Whether it was isolation from the wing, a pull-up jumper off the dribble, or a quick drive into the lane, Jordan was in complete control. Dumars was a great defender, but against Jordan in that zone, he didn't stand a chance. Even when Dennis Rodman switched onto him, Jordan found a way to score, knocking down a 3-pointer and taunting Rodman afterwards. It was vintage Jordan, skilled, ruthless, and confident. As the game wore on, Jordan's mid-range jumper became a weapon Detroit couldn't solve. Time after time, he dribbled into his spot and rose up with perfect form, the ball ripping through the net. When the Pistons overplayed him, he used the pressure against them, hitting teammates with slick passes for open looks. At one point, he even found Scottie Pippen for a tough hook shot that showed how much faith he had in his running mate. Jordan wasn't just scoring, he was orchestrating the entire offense like a master conductor. And yet, his aggression never faded. Against the Pistons, you couldn't afford to be passive. Jordan slashed to the rim, drawing fouls and knocking down free throws with icy precision. He cut off the ball, making defenders chase him, and used Detroit's own rules against them by kicking out to shooters when the double teams came. By the end of the third quarter, he had already piled up 12 points in the frame, and his confidence was only growing. The fourth quarter was pure domination. Jordan was everywhere, scoring off pull-ups, hitting threes, throwing pinpoint assists, and locking down on defense. At one point, he jumped a passing lane for a steal and turned it into a fast break layup, the crowd erupting as if they knew this was the moment the Pistons' reign was finally ending. Detroit tried everything: double teams, traps, physical fouls, but Jordan kept coming. He looked possessed, as if losing wasn't an option. Every shot, every drive, every play carried the weight of years of frustration, and he was finally letting it all out on the court. When the final buzzer sounded, the Bulls had taken a commanding 2-0 lead in the series. Jordan finished with 35 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals, shooting 50% from the field, perfect from 3, and nearly flawless at the free throw line. It wasn't just the numbers, it was the way he controlled the game, the way he broke Detroit's spirit, and the way he proved that this was no longer the Pistons' league. The torch had officially been passed. And what came next was history. Jordan and the Bulls didn't just beat the Pistons, they swept them in 4 straight games. Isiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer walked off the court without shaking hands, a bitter reminder of how much this loss stung. For Detroit, it was the end of an era. For Jordan, it was the beginning of one. He went on to defeat Magic Johnson and the Lakers in the finals, capturing his first championship and launching a dynasty that would deliver 6 titles in 8 years. Looking back, the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals wasn't just about basketball. It was about growth, resilience, and transformation. Jordan had always been the most talented player on the floor, but now he was also the toughest, the smartest, and the most complete. He had faced his greatest rivals, endured years of heartbreak, and finally conquered the mountain that once seemed impossible to climb. The day Michael Jordan destroyed Isiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer wasn't just another game. It was the day he cemented his legacy. It was the day he proved that no amount of physical punishment or mental warfare could stop him. It was the day the world realized that Michael Jordan wasn't just chasing greatness anymore. He had become greatness itself. What made this moment even more iconic was how it reshaped the entire NBA landscape. For years, the league had been dominated by the Lakers, Celtics, and Pistons. They were the dynasties, the measuring sticks, and the teams everyone else chased. But after Jordan and the Bulls knocked Detroit off their throne, the balance of power shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't about surviving the bruising physical battles of the 1980s. It was about keeping up with a new era defined by speed, skill, and relentless scoring led by the greatest player alive. The sweep also carried a symbolic weight far beyond the scoreboard. The Pistons had been masters of intimidation, using psychological warfare as much as physical strength to win games. Yet when Jordan and the Bulls walked past them, refusing to flinch or back down, it was clear the mental edge had been broken. No longer would Chicago be the little brother getting bullied in the schoolyard. They had stood up, thrown punches back, and walked away stronger. That image burned itself into basketball history. And then there was the infamous walk-off. As the final seconds ticked away in Game 4, Isiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer refused to shake the Bulls' hands. They left the court in silence, their pride too wounded to acknowledge the better team. For Jordan, that moment said it all. The respect he had been denied for years was finally his, not through words or handshakes, but through dominance on the floor. The Pistons' refusal to show sportsmanship only confirmed what everyone already knew. The era of Detroit was finished, and a new dynasty had arrived. From that point forward, Jordan's career skyrocketed. He was no longer seen as just a scoring machine or highlight reel dunker. He was the ultimate competitor, the man who could carry a team on his back and push them to heights they never thought possible. That transformation turned him into a global icon, someone whose name became synonymous with excellence. Kids didn't just want to play basketball anymore. They wanted to be like Mike. Decades later, fans still look back at that 1991 playoff run as the true birth of the Jordan dynasty. The numbers, the highlights, and the championships that followed are legendary. But it all started with finally destroying Isiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and the Pistons. That series wasn't just about advancing to the finals. It was about proving to the world and to himself that nothing could hold him back. And from that day forward, no one ever did.